Welcome to the Daily Senior Safety Advice Podcast. This is the show that helps older adults live safely, confidently, and independently at home. I'm your host, Esther Kane. I'm a retired occupational therapist, certified aging in place specialist, and a dementia care specialist. And I'm so glad that you're here with me today. So listen, before we get started, if you find today's episode helpful, please take a second to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone that you love. It really does make a difference because that helps us to get the podcast to more people. And you can always find more tips and resources at seniorsafetyadvice.com. So today we're going to be talking about something that I have used almost every single day in my years as an occupational therapist. I'm talking about the gait belt. Now, a lot of people have never heard of this little tool, and even the folks who have heard of it sometimes aren't sure how to use it safely, which honestly is a little concerning. So today we're going to change that because when a gait belt is used the right way, it can help to prevent falls, reduce injuries, and make the whole process of helping someone stand up feel so much calmer for everyone involved. And it's not just for standing up, it's for sitting down as well. All right. So let's start at the very beginning if you don't yet know. What exactly is a gait belt? A gait belt is a sturdy, wide belt, usually made of canvas or nylon, that wraps around a person's waist. It has a buckle at the front, and it's designed specifically to give a caregiver or a helper something safe to hold on to when they're assisting someone who needs help getting up, getting down, walking, or transferring from one place to another. Now, listen, I want to tell you, they haven't yet made it a fashion accessory. It's a safety tool, a real one, and it makes a world of difference. Now, there are a variety of gait belts, and you can certainly choose the one that you like. So before gait belts were widely used in rehabilitation, I can tell you firsthand what caregivers would do instead. They would grab onto a person's arm or their clothing, like their pants, or sometimes, and this is the one that really concerned me as an OT, they would try to support someone by holding them under the arms. Now, that approach, all of those actually have real risks. Pulling on someone's arm can strain their shoulder. Grabbing clothing can cause the person to feel off balance because the grip isn't stable. Grabbing their pants can give them a severe wedgie. And lifting from under the arms can put pressure on sensitive areas, especially for people with shoulder injuries, poor circulation, arthritis, or even a pacemaker. Now, a gait belt changes all of that. It gives you a firm, centered, safe grip right at the person's center of gravity around their waist, and that makes the whole movement smoother and safer for both of you. Now, there are gait belts that just have the belt itself. So then you would put your hand underneath that belt. But now they have gait belts that have loops throughout the entire belt. So you can grab onto any of those loops because sometimes you'll have to grab both sides of the gait belt to help someone up or down. All right. So you might be thinking, okay, but does my loved one actually need one of these? Do I need one of these? Well, let me share a few situations where a gait belt is really, really helpful. First, if your loved one has weakness on one side of their body, maybe from a stroke, they may need steady support when they shift their weight to stand. A gait belt lets you guide the movement without pulling awkwardly. Second, if they've had a recent surgery, especially a hip or knee replacement, their movement is going to be very cautious and careful for a while, and who can blame them, right? A gait belt gives them and you a safety net during that recovery window. Third, and this one comes up a lot, or did come up a lot in my experience, if your loved one has dizziness, vertigo, they have low blood pressure when standing, or any condition that causes them to feel unsteady when they first get up, a gait belt gives you something to hold onto if they start to sway. That way, the likelihood of both of you going down, gets less. And for those of you caring for someone with dementia, I want to speak directly to you for a bit. People living with memory changes may not always understand what you're asking them to do. They may resist. They may even move unexpectedly. So a gait belt is not a restraint. Please understand. It is not a restraint. It gives you a safer way to support someone whose movements you can't always predict. I mean, I'm going to say that in my clinical years, some of the most memorable falls that I saw or helped to prevent happened right at that moment of transition from sitting to standing. That moment when a person shifts their weight forward, pushes up, and begins to rise. It looks simple, and it is for the majority of us. But for many older adults, it is the most vulnerable moment in their day. A gait belt, used properly, protects that moment. Okay, so let's talk about how to actually put on one of these, because putting it on wrong is one of the most common mistakes that I used to see, even among trained home health aides. Well, actually, you have to wonder how much training there was in there. Anyway, the belt goes directly on the person's body over their clothing, not over a coat, not over a thick sweater if you can help it. You want it snug against the body, but not super tight. Here's a quick way to check. Once the belt is buckled, slide 2 fingers underneath it. If your fingers slip in easily, that's about right. If you can't get your fingers under at all, it's too tight. If your whole hand slides in with room to spare, it's too loose, and that's a safety issue. Okay, so position the buckle at the front of the body, slightly off to one side, not directly over the stomach. You want it comfortable for the person and out of the way of where you'll be gripping. Now, listen, there are a few places that the belt should never go. It should not be placed over an abdominal wound. It should not be placed over a colostomy bag, a feeding tube, or any kind of port or medical device in that area. If your loved one has recently had abdominal surgery, check with their doctor or physical therapist before using one, because it may be that you need to use a different device. Also, and this surprised many of my students when I had students as an OT, a gait belt is not appropriate for someone who is completely unable to bear any weight on their legs. If a person truly cannot stand at all, you need a different kind of equipment, like a Hoyer lift or a transfer board. The gait belt is designed for someone who has some ability to participate in the movement, even if that ability is limited. You're not really holding that person up, you're just helping them to move from one place to another. All right, so the belt is now on. You've got it on. Okay, now what? All right, so let's walk through this step by step. And I want you to picture this as you listen. Your loved one is sitting, maybe in a chair, maybe on the edge of a bed. Before anything else, make sure their feet are flat on the floor, hip width apart, not crossed, not tucked back under them, flat on the floor, right under their knees. Next, have them scoot forward to the edge of the seat or the bed or whatever they're on. This is important because if they try to stand from the middle of where they're sitting, they're fighting gravity. So it's going to make it harder for them to get up. It's not going to make it harder for you to pull them up. If they start from the edge, they can use momentum to help themselves up. Now, position yourself. You want to be in front of them and slightly to the side, not directly in front, because that blocks their natural forward movement. Stand with your feet apart, your knees slightly bent. You're not lifting them, you're guiding them, and hopefully they are doing the majority of the work. Sometimes you do have to do a bit of a lift. I used to put one of their knees between my legs. That's how I stood. One of my legs was between both their knees and the other leg was on the outside of one knee. That is the position that you want. Reach around and grip the gait belt from underneath with an underhand grip. This is the key. Don't grip from the top down because it can slip down. An underhand grip gives you much better control and keeps your wrist in a safer position. Always tell them what's coming. Always tell them what's going on. Okay, something like, okay, on 3, we're going to lean forward and stand up together. Ready? Give them a moment, then count 1, 2, 3. Now, if you're speaking to someone with dementia, that's too many directions. So you're going to say something like, lean forward, and then they will lean forward. And then you can say, stand up. So you want to break the instructions down into bits and pieces. Now, as they lean forward and push up with their arms, if they can do that, you guide them upward with the belt. You're not yanking because you don't want to bruise them or hurt them. You're not pulling sideways. You're following their movement and steadying it. Now, once they're standing, hold on for a moment. Just take a second. Let them get their balance. Let them breathe. Give them a second before they start walking or turning to sit, whatever. That pause right after standing is when a lot of dizziness or unsteadiness shows up. And honestly, I've seen a few falls happen because of that, especially if they've been sitting for a while. I always used to tell the families, you are not the motor. They are. Your job is to be the guardrail. Think of yourself as a safety net, not a crane. When caregivers try to do all the lifting themselves, they themselves end up getting injured. And then who's going to help? When they let the person do what they can and simply support the movement, both people end up staying safer. So let me tell you a little bit about some of the most common mistakes that I've seen using gait belts so that you can avoid them. Mistake number 1, standing directly in front of the person. When you block their path, they have nowhere to go to lean forward. Their head is going to come right onto you, onto your chin, your chest, whatever. That forward lean is what gets them up. Stand to the side, not in the front. Mistake number 2, rushing the process. I can't tell you how many times I saw a caregiver say, okay, up you go. And then they try to haul someone to standing before the person even knew what was happening or even understood what was happening. Slow down, explain, count, give them a moment to prepare. Mistake number 3, gripping from the top down. I know, it sounds like a small thing, but an overhand grip puts your wrist in a weak position and can actually cause you to twist if the person sways. Always grip from underneath. Plus, it's a lot easier for that belt to escape your hands if you have an overgrip. Mistake number 4, not paying attention to the belt's position after putting it on. Belts tend to shift, because they're not super tight, they're a little loose. So check it before each use. If it's riding up toward the ribs, adjust it back down to the waist. And mistake number 5, forgetting to check the environment. Before you even touch the belt, look around. Is there a clear path? Is there something to walk toward, like a walker or a chair or a bathroom doorway? Remove those nasty throw rugs or items that could catch a foot. The belt is one piece of the puzzle. The environment around you matters just as much. Now, if you're caring for someone who is resistant to wearing a gait belt, try normalizing it. Tell them it's what the therapist recommended, what the doctor recommended. Keep it nearby on the chair or the nightstand so it becomes part of the routine. Some people warm up to it once they realize it actually makes them feel more secure, not less independent. So gait belts are incredibly affordable. That's why I say I think every home should have one. You can find them at medical supply stores, on Amazon, at some pharmacies, and even through home health equipment suppliers. When you're shopping, look for a belt that is at least 2 inches wide. The wider the belt, the more comfortable it is for the person wearing it. Look for strong stitching and a metal buckle. Plastic buckles exist, but for everyday use, I like the metal. It tends to hold up better and feel much more secure. Some belts have multiple handles sewn into them. That's the ones that I was telling you about, the loops all around. Those can be really helpful if you're assisting someone who needs support from more than one direction, or if you're walking alongside them and need to shift your grip. The ones with the handles sewn around them, the loops, are also great if you need 2 people to help someone stand up. That way everybody's got a good grip on the gait belt. If you're not sure what to get, ask your loved one's physical therapist or occupational therapist. They can recommend the specific options. And here's the great part. They can also show you in person how to use one correctly. Never underestimate the value of a live demonstration. Reading or listening is a great start, but watching someone do it and then doing it yourself while someone watches you, well, that's where the real learning happens. At least that's what I've learned. All right. You can also check aginginplacedirectory.com to find qualified aging in place specialists and home health professionals in your area who can help you and provide you with that hands-on guidance. So here's my encouragement to you today. If you are regularly helping someone stand up and you haven't been using a gait belt and you've just been using a regular belt, don't do that because that can really harm them. Consider trying a gait belt. Ask a professional to show you. Practice with it when things are calm, not in the middle of a rushed morning routine, and give yourself grace as you learn. Caregiving is hard work, and every tool that makes it safer for you and for the person you love is worth knowing about. All right, so before I wrap up today, I want to say something directly to the family caregivers who are listening. I know that helping someone you love stand up can feel like the most ordinary thing in the world. You've done it 100 times, maybe more. But here's what I also know. Over time, that ordinary task can take a toll on your body, your back, your shoulders, your knees. I know I suffer from back and shoulder pain from all those years of OT. I've seen it happen to spouses, adult children, siblings, people who were devoted and strong and doing everything right, and still ended up with injuries because no one ever showed them a safer way. A gait belt is not just for your loved one's safety, it's for yours too. You cannot provide good care if you're hurt. You cannot be the steady presence your loved one needs if your back is out or your shoulder is strained. So please, take the time to learn this, use the right tools, ask for help when you need it. You're doing important work and you deserve to be protected too. And on top of it, it's very, very affordable. All right, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me today. It means a lot. For more practical tips and resources just like this one, head over to seniorsafetyadvice.com. And if you're looking for qualified specialists to help you or your loved one age in place safely, check out Aging in Place Directory. And if you haven't yet subscribed yet to the podcast or YouTube channel, wherever it is you're listening to this from, then please do. It helps this show reach more people who need it. If this podcast has helped you in any way, one of the biggest ways you can support it is by subscribing, leaving a review, liking the episode, of course, sharing it. Those simple actions may seem small, but they really do make a huge difference. They help the podcast reach more people, especially family caregivers and older adults, and professionals who may need this information and support right now. And honestly, your support helps me to continue creating these episodes every day. So thank you for being here, thank you for listening, and thank you for helping me spread this message to others who may benefit from it. I'm Esther Kane. Stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you in the next episode.